This week was dominated mainly by the news connected with energy market. So
Once
the
again,
first news
yeah.
is connected with it. Polish JV to commercialize SMR nuclear reactors. GE Hitachi, Synthos, and PKN Orlen. Polish companies Synthos Green Energy and PKN Orlen have signed an investment agreement to establish a joint venture for the development of a small modular reactor fleet in Poland.
Yeah, and we talked about this already several times. These SMRs are going to be the thing in Poland for nuclear. That's going to be the strategy, of course, as it is in many places in the world. But the nuclear is going to be, as they declare, one of the cheapest sources of power for Poland. And they are aiming to have it implemented by 2030. So coming relatively soon, 8 years from now, first ones to be activated. Okay, next story, next 2 or 3 stories, actually all about nuclear or rather wind energy, renewables. We put them all together. So that is the hot subject right now in Poland that we talked about many times. So the second story, Magda.
PGE gets ready to accept offshore wind, launches first electrode boilers in heat and power plant in Gdańsk. PGE Energia Ciepła from the PGE Group has completed the construction of a reserve and peak load boiler house at the heat and power plant in Gdańsk, consisting of oil, gas, and electrode boilers powered by electricity.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because this sounds a bit messy and such, but the truth is what they're doing is getting themselves ready to accept the erratic nature of renewable energy. You've got wind and solar, which is, wind blows or doesn't blow, the sun shines or doesn't shine. So they're dealing with that and finding ways to fill in when that energy source isn't generating much energy. So that's what they're doing with their boilers, making it acceptable for electricity from solar, from wind, and from additional oil and gas sources. So interesting. The transformation is quite interesting how it's happening. Okay, next story, Magda, again on wind.
Yeah, first Abu Dhabi investors in Polish wind farms. Masdar, a subsidiary of Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund Mubadala Investment Company and Europe's Stalery Energia Solar Wind Second Fund, formally inaugurated the wind farms at the Poland Pavilion at Expo 2020 Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, this is a couple of things. First of all, there's a lot of activity right now in Dubai with the World Expo going on, lasting from now till March of next year in Dubai. Lots of Polish businesses there. Lots of deals being announced, including today. We're going to announce a few more deals in this video. But it's also interesting from my perspective to see the first Emirates investment or Gulf states investment into Poland's Poland's renewables energy, in this case, of course, wind. So it's a big deal, and it shows the institutional acceptance of the Polish renewable energy, the wind energy. It was far from that 5 years ago. It's now becoming pretty safe, pretty predictable, and that brings in the big investors, that brings in institutional investors, and we're going to see more and more of that as time passes. Okay, next story again on wind.
Yeah, our power aims for 10 gigawatts of PV by 2030, hence for acquisitions armed with 1 billion zlotys green bonds. Our power aims to join the group of the 10 largest independent energy producers in Europe. Half of this portfolio is to be made up of projects located in Poland.
Yeah, and our power has really started off in the wind business quite strongly in Poland, but in Poland and Portugal are the main presences, and this is run by Przemek Pięta, based in Portugal for the most part. That's their focus, but they are saying, hey, we're not going to sell the wind farms like other developers. We want to be one of the top 10 power producers overall. So it's a big deal. It's an ambitious plan, but they've got a long-term plan to be a major generator of renewable energy. So we'll see how that develops as well. Next story, one more, and the last one for the day about wind, but one more international investors coming into wind.
Lithuania Ignis launches Pomerania wind farm. The Ignis concern estimates that within 30 years of operation, Pomerania will generate an operating EBITDA profit of 400 million euros. The expected annual volume of energy produced by it is 300 gigawatt hours. Gigawatts hours, I'm sorry. This is equivalent to the average annual electricity demand of 160,000 households.
Yeah, so Ignis is also just getting started. They have planned much more investments into renewable into Poland, and they've just announced another contract to purchase PV farms with another 80 megawatts. So it's a pretty big push from those guys. And look, Look at that number. They're saying they're going to generate 400 million euros profit from the wind farms in the next 30 years. Big number, big thing. Gives you an example of why this is an attractive industry. 400 million euros profit. Nice. Okay, next story, Magda.
Now we move totally to the different topic. Polish Enterprise Development Agency's new startup platform boosts Eastern Poland. In the current edition of the startup platforms, approximately 900 startups have already completed the incubation program and are ready to implement their products on the market.
Yeah, and this is about a 100 million zloty project. And of course, they're subsidizing development Eastern Poland. Well, good idea, good strategy, very much needed. Places like Białystok and around there, Świętokrzyska, Warmińska, Mazuri as well. So lots of those areas getting more subsidies from the government. Should be, and that's a good project. We'll see what startups come out of that region. But for sure, this will help boost them and put some fuel in their tanks. Next story, on to mobile phones, Magda, or 5G.
Poland's long-delayed 5G auction set back to 2022. The 3.5 gigahertz spectrum auction, which was initially set to take place in 2020, has faced numerous setbacks over the last 2 years. The Polish regulator has now announced that it now intends to launch Poland's first 5G spectrum auction next year.
So this article, by the way, is a longer article on the newsletter. And by the way, once again, anyone listening, we have a weekly newsletter, which is free on BiznesPolska PL, 50 news articles in detail. You can then jump to the original source. It's quite useful, quite interesting. But this long delay of 5G, I understand, having read the article in depth, why the 5G has been so underperforming, because it isn't the 5G yet. So it's been promoted as such, but it's not. It's using the old networks. So you can see a big changes coming down the pipe in Poland with the 5G coming on strong in 2022. Well, I'm looking forward to that very much. Lots of applications will come out of it that no one can even imagine yet. Okay, next one.
34% boom in Polish dairy products to China. Exports of Polish dairy products to China rose 34% in the first half of 2020, thanks to fine quality of Polish products and growing consumption by Chinese consumers.
You know, this is interesting to me. They've dug in big time the Polish milk sales to China, but I can't imagine, or it's hard to believe, that dairy products are 65% of the overall Polish food exports to China. Big number.
Yeah. The second one after the European Union, I think, yeah?
Yeah, incredible.
The second biggest market.
Yeah, big market. So companies like Mlekpol in Poland are probably doing extremely well there, but big project, big success for Polish milk. Now the point is they follow up with much more increases of other exports of Poland into China. Okay, next story, Magda. 3 more stories.
Bicycle manufacturer Romet Group reports a 40% sales boom. The pandemic gave a major push to sales of Polish manufacturer Romet Group. For this year, the company expects to increase sales by as much as 40%, from 70 million euros to 98 million euros.
Yeah, I love this story too. It's also interesting. It started by a private person, Wiesław Grzyb. They will earn almost 10 million euros profit this year, and they're expecting to grow by 33% revenues next year. Great story, big story. Congrats to them. They've done well in this coronavirus period. So next story, Magda.
Yeah, this is the last story for today about MBank.
We got 2 more.
2 more. Yeah, you are right, Tom. Thank you. So now we have a story about MBank that aims to settle 12,150 lawsuits over Swiss franc loan fiasco. MBank is testing the waters for out-of-court settlements with holders of Swiss franc mortgages in a bid to end long legal disputes that hurt its profits.
Yeah, so this is incredible. I knew there was a big mess around the mortgages. I didn't realize it was so big. For example, MBank having 12,000 lawsuits. What a nightmare. They're trying to get it behind them. They come up with a plan called Let's Meet Halfway, the halfway settlement with all the holders of the mortgages. We'll see how it takes place, but their stock price has kicked ass in the last year. You've had 3 times increase in the stock price of MBank in the last 12 months. So huge performance of MBank. I don't know how much of it's driven by this settlement, but it's a big idea to put this behind them. Finally, they should. It's more than 10 years old. Get it done, get it settled, get it behind them. Must be a nightmare having 12,000 lawsuits on your hand. And the last story, Madhya, do you have that last story?
Yeah, I have the last
Good.
story.
Go.
I'm sorry for the mistake. Korean bank IBK chief visits corporate clients, OECD headquarters in Poland. State-run Industrial Bank of Korea CEO Yoo Young-won recently met with corporate clients and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development officials in Europe, while inspecting potential markets for the bank to enter.
Yeah, and this is obviously a big hint that the IBK Bank of Korea is planning to enter Poland. It's very likely they've telegraphed it. They have other projects. They're working on big time infrastructure projects in Poland, energy projects, nuclear, hydrogen's big, automotive is big. So look, they're coming in, IBK, going to be in Warsaw most likely. Expect to see that announcement pretty soon. It will be a big support for further, a big impetus for further investment of Korean companies into Poland. So that would be a good thing for the country. Looking forward to seeing that. We are done for the day. Magda, thanks a lot. That is the top 10 stories. Again, the rest of the 50 stories are on the website, BiznesPolska PL, free weekly newsletter. Please sign up. Magda, thanks for your time again this weekend. Enjoy the rest of the weekend and see you next week.
Same to you, Tom, and same for everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.